2001, something felt funny, he said. He was dusky gray, raced to the ER, and a heart cath showed that one of the 2 bypasses had occluded. No chance of further surgery, no healthy tissue left. The hospital eventually told us that they would discharge him and make him feel comfortable. They were sending him home to die, and he knew it. One of the cardiologists I hunted down offered to send him to UK and Lexington to see what the cardiologists there thought. We grabbed the bit of hope he had offered. A few days later, the heart transplant surgeon and team walked in surrounding his bed. He had hope for a few minutes as they introduced themselves, but then it bottomed again. The doctor told him he was on the B list, meaning that he had 1 shot in a billion of getting a heart. We asked, why bother? He said their job was to keep him alive until technology could catch up. Maybe tomorrow would bring new drugs or surgical techniques. Hubby took the chance they offered and told them to try anything. After they left, the intern returned and said they were sending him in to the sleep lab that night for a sleep study. Being a sleep medicine illiterate person I was back then, I sat there and thought, what the heck does sleep have to do with the heart? Yeah, right, we were in for quite an education. We filled out the questionnaire and checked yes, he snored. We had our best fights in bed. Yes, he quit breathing in his sleep. I would elbow him in the tummy until he turned over and stopped snoring, and then shake the snot out of him when I realized he no longer was breathing. He or I would end up on the couch. Arriving at the sleep lab the next morning, the tech knew I was an RN and raced to tell me all about the study, using terms I had no clue as to what they meant, AHI, hypopneas, etc. Some of the terms I grasped and realized my hubby had been slowly dying while lying next to me for 14 years. He had to find a chair and a box of tissue. I had to find a chair and a box of tissue when the thought registered fully in my uneducated sleep medicine brain. He was sent home on CPAP and a new blank of drugs. Within 3 months, his ejection fraction was up from 15 to 17, and he requested that the O2 therapy be stopped. Within 6 to 9 months, he was out of the wheelchair. The next appointment with the heart transplant surgery, we learned he no longer met the criteria to be on the transplant list. This was cause for celebration until the doc explained his theory of my husband's illness to us, and when my eyes were fully opened, I was never the same. He stated the drugs had helped, the cardiac rehab had helped, but he and his team's opinion was CPAP, taking the stress off the heart, was responsible for my hubby's steps back to a better quality of life. He added the following statement directed towards me because he knew I'm the type of person that apologizes when it rains. So he knew when I finally figured out for myself, I would take all of the guilt and beat myself up over it for the rest of our lives. His statement, if any of your husband's doctors had caught his OSA after the first heart attack, I will go out on a limb and say he probably would have avoided the 3 MIs and the CABG, and he would not be sitting in my office today. I thought my heart would break right then and there, literally. I was supposed to be trained in the medical field. I was a professional, but I was an ignorant professional. But instead of beating myself up, I promised myself if I ever had the opportunity to save someone from going through what my hubby has, I would grab it and would never let it go. In 2005, I was given the opportunity to be hired as a tech for a sleep lab opening in our small community. After hearing our personal story, I was hired because my employers recognized the passion inside put there through my hubby's illnesses. Since coming off the HT list, he had a pacemaker and defibrillator inserted, an ablation done to try once more to get the heart out of atrial fib. Didn't work. However, in November last year, his cardiologist was able to do a heart cath and inserted a small stent and opened up the occluded bypass from 2001. His ejection fraction today is a whopping 25. Additionally, the part of his heart all of the doctors call the dead zone is actually growing teeny tiny blood vessels. Who needs a new heart when the original one is being so cooperative? Today, on this nice fall day with the sun shining and the breeze blowing in his face, he's out riding our nieces, ages 6 and 10, on his four-wheeler. The wheelchair in the attic gathering dust. And every night when I go to work, or every support group I'm asked to speak at, I pray for the opportunity to tell someone my hubby's story. For at least one person to hear it, act upon it, and to avoid what my hubby has gone through. He's my hero, and through him, many lives are being saved here. Will I ever go back to nursing? Nope. Not as long as there is such a profession as an RPSGT. That's a sleep tech. I tell the RNs when they ask me, why did you go down a rung on the professional ladder? I just laugh at them and say that there is no feeling on earth like watching a patient leave the lab the next morning, titrated, excited about feeling better, and ready to go on with their life. So excuse me, but I'm not going down a rung on the ladder. I'm sitting on top of the world. And while the rush when a former patient makes contact a few months, weeks, years later and tells what sleep medicine has done for them, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Well, sorry guys, I try to get through it. When you see somebody out there like that, now I got a question. I mean, she gave a couple of hints, where they were in the country. But you ever think that the person who was there hooking you up as the sleep tech for your sleep study might have been that person? CPAP Choice is all about stuff like this. I've got a passion for this. If you watch the video, my journey into rest, CPAP RA and me. The part that really hit home was talking about the wheelchair, up there in the attic collecting dust. And for a video montage, I took a picture of where my cane and my crutches are right now. And they're out in the garage, out in the workshop, and they're collecting dust. Maybe some of you don't have these types of issues going into CPAP. It can still help you. It can help you avoid this type of thing. Sleep apnea, CPAP, corrects it. I'm not going to say cures it anymore. I said that a couple times. It's not a cure. But I'm telling you what, guys. If you start sleeping well, and I mean healthy, and I mean, getting some rest, but I mean sleeping healthy. You know what? Your quality of life is going to improve. All of these things. Pappy's here just to encourage you today, okay? And CPAP Choice is here to bring you stories like this. Watch for this section, the PepTalk. Hey, if you're struggling with CPAP therapy, come to CPAP Choice. Watch these videos. Go to the American Sleep Apnea Association forum. Go to CPAP Talk forum. There's people that are going to help you and encourage you along the way.